What's up, guys? It's Winston. I'm just gonna go and share a trade that I got into today, which actually ended up losing, but I'll go over why I took the trade, and then we're gonna have Brandon. He's gonna go over some trades he took that actually ended up winning. So this was this morning, and we're on Euro USD. I'll go to the minute one. We saw that there was a range up here that had to be mitigated. So we saw price taps into it and ends up coming down. And what I saw, that I hadn't got in the trade yet. So I saw this break of structure right here. So then I was looking for the retest to come back up here. And sure enough, we get right in, and we actually end up going into some okay profits. I'm not going to call it good, but what happened was price ends up coming back up. But right here, like if we're looking at it from this standpoint, we got our break of structure, right, creating a lower high, and then boom, it came down. So this looked like a great trade, and then it just didn't work out, right? And so here's where we are now, and that's okay. Risk management, that's all I got to say about that. So do you want to take over, Brandon?
Yeah. I can share screen, right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So I'm going to go over like a quick breakdown of how I took this trade.
Yep.
Yeah. So from a, damn, how far back am I? All right, here we go. So from a weekly standpoint, I can see price actually has bullish price action. Is trying to test a weekly high, and that's where it was currently approaching. So I'm currently looking for basically buys on the weekly, but then I decided to break down into a daily time frame. And if you look at it, basically order flow is going up, and we see that price is creating high highs, higher lows. So we can see price is very bullish. So knowing this, and I'm recognizing that price is actually testing a daily high over here, I decided to break down the 4-hour to see what I saw. And looking over here, I can see price is also in bullish price action, but recently that price action actually broke a low, but actually took liquidity from the upside to continue up. So I was keeping this in mind as price was going up. Now, see if I can replay this to around the moment I took this trade. Yeah, so around the time I took this trade, I would push it a little bit back, put out in 1 hour, because we know price is technically bearish, but then it broke up. If you look at 1 hour, price is actually bullish again. So continue to watch price. So I kind of knew that price was still headed up after it took out these equal lows, knowing that it was also testing, keeping in mind it was testing weekly and daily highs over here. So I knew that price was falling, going upwards. So let's see if I can bring this even further back so we can get a more precise of what I was thinking for my entry. So, all right, so we're gonna break down into a 30-minute. So I see price is starting to slow down and consolidate, never reached that, failed to reach the high. And breaking down into 15-minute, it starts to look like price is consolidating even more, and I'm recognizing this. So as I'm looking at my time frames, I notice this, like it's like a 15-minute order block. They didn't break structure, but can be considered order block, just not a confirmation. So breaking down in the 5-minute, we can see how price is going to play out now. I'm going to move this a little slower. So recognizing that price is creating movements like this, I started to realize this might be forming like a Wyckoff schematic. So I broke down to an even smaller time frame. I use a 3-minute to kind of bounce between each time frame, 3-minute, 5-minute, and 1 minute. But when I was watching this trade, I actually watched it through the 1 minute. So let's look at this and how price is playing out. So this was my seller's climax right here. I'm watching this trade play out. I didn't mark this up until after the secondary test in phase B, but this is how I knew this was a schematic. So watching price play, I'm gonna move this up a little bit so it's faster. So price plays, creates equal lows. Now that's so when it creates that equal low, I also know if that's a secondary test. Now waiting for price to continue. So recognize that these equal lows have to be swept in order to bring price upwards. I assume once this move happened, this would have been the. I originally thought this was a spring, so I waited for price to actually sweep these lows, and once it did, I thought this was a spring, and I tried to enter off it the first time, and price actually kicked me out. Let's see where it does. Right about move is coming soon. Here. So right here is actually where price actually kicked me out my trade. And I kind of recognize that this was the actual true spring. So when price formed this move up, I actually decided to re-enter right off this exact move. And let's see what happened to my, I don't know if it's gonna have my, yeah, it took it out. But I'm gonna take this long. So right about here, I had like a 3 pip stop. And I took this all the way up to about the high. There was the high of the week, so on the 15-minute time frame. So on a 15-minute basis, this was the high over here. So this is where I based my move off of, and I had about 22.5 pip move. All right, now let's just watch how price plays out. So price is starting to form structure. So right about here, I wait once this move occurred right here after price actually broke the original structure, formed a higher low, and then broke structure again and then formed another higher low. I decided to break even at this exact point over here. So now I had a risk-free trade running. As price continued to do moves, I would trail my SO with each move form. So I moved my SO to here after the first move. And my final trail of SO was right over here. But by then, price actually hit TP and I won this trade. So it was about a 1 to 7, 1.7, 1 to 7.5. So pretty good trade overall. Now let's just talk about the trade that I took recently, but this is basically the schematic over here before I move on to the next trade. So basically focus on the seller's climax, automatic rally, secondary test, form of equal lows. Equal lows have to be swept due to liquidity to bring price up. Actually becomes secondary test in phase B, and this is the spring over here. Price actually takes the test off of this order block over here. Mind, this is actually a nice OB. That was an unmitigated area. So that's also another reason for why I took it, because after it formed that move, this left liquidity over here. You can see that this range over here, let me just put a little box over here. There was liquidity in this little range over here. So I decided to basically take my trade over here and basically properly manage my trade overall to make sure I secure profits, because at the end of the day, you want to always make sure you're managing your trades and securing profits. You just never want to be greedy. Like whatever you make is what you make. Would you rather lose a trade and not make anything at all? Or would you rather secure something? You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about this next trade. I'm gonna fast forward to the future. All right, so this is a trade I took actually this morning. So basically, it was kind of the same breakdown overall. I know prices heading towards the high, but things started to change around the 4 hour. So basically, price broke structure again. Actually, instead of continue to go both, so it broke structure again. I broke down. It was still kind of unclear what was going on, so I broke down into the 1 hour. And what I could see is that price is actually forming a bearish order flow right here. So I'm seeing that price left liquidity over here. They see imbalance unmitigated range. If you look over here, same thing, imbalances. Those are why I have all of them marked up right now currently, because these are places I expect price to go to. Let's go down. So also I kept in mind, I'm noticing that price is in a sort of retracement because price is in bearish order flow. So I know this is a retracement as I'm doing this. So keeping in mind that price is retracing, I'm expecting price to go up, but I decided to counter trend. So this wasn't a trade with the trend. This is a counter trend move I decided to take here. So
But there's cause on that one because you have liquidity.
Yeah, exactly.
Major imbalance too. Yeah, it was a good trade.
Major imbalances. I think it was the 15-minute. Yeah, I had to go down to. Yeah, 15 minutes because my trade's over here. Yeah. So originally I was thinking price could potentially just retrace to here. In this unmitigated block over here, but price broke through and I decided to look basically upwards. So basically to the next sort of range blocks I would look at. So these are where my markups are. Let's see, delete this so it's a little bit cleaner. Let's go to 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minute was still a little bit unclear, but I could see that there was also an imbalance. So this imbalance actually plays a key role into why I took profit right over here. This is my take profit area, but this actually plays a key role, and I'm going to explain it once I get into it. So basically, so with the 3 minutes, so this is here we go. Basically, at the 3 minute, I kind of noticed this gap, price gap completely. Originally, I was setting my take profit to right about here, around this area, but it wasn't too convincing to me because I like to see order blocks stack on each other, and it wasn't really stacking. And then also I noticed that there was a huge gap over here, and price usually has to come fill gaps at the end of the day. Doesn't matter when it's gonna happen. At some point, it could happen 2 years later. I just know, but due to the fact that price was retracing and there was liquidity to the top, it was just a perfect area for price to actually come back and fill. Like, why stop here when price could fill in the gap and then continue its way down if it wanted to? So let's get into the 1 minute and get into exactly how I entered off of this. So I'm watching price do the retracement, knowing that price is retracing right now. And like Winston just said, liquidity to the upside. So I'm watching price move up and it starts to slow down and just kind of consolidates, or what we like to call basically ranging. So
yeah.
I notice that price is creating like a push down and then it keeps spiking the lows, manipulating the lows. So to me, at first, it kind of thought I would think it's a distribution schematic, but noticing that price is manipulating the lows more convinced me it was more of a reaccumulation. So, a reaccumulate, a redistribution. I'm messing. It's one of two. I mix up the term sometime, but here we go. So I noticed that, and then I noticed price failed to create a low over here, which was actually very, very key in my analysis right here. Once I saw that low failed, I was convinced that price was going to move up. Inside this complex pullback, price broke structure within the complex pullback. I wasn't too convinced just yet that price was going up, but it rejected off it, didn't break structure just yet, came back down, failed to create another low, and then actually broke structure over here. So at this point of breaking structure, I noticed that there was an unmitigated block over here that needed to be filled. as soon as price came down, I entered off this, so sell a buy limit, had my my SO right about here for 2 pips. I could have done about a 1.5, but to give some room, 2 pips is what the usual standard to go with. So your trade has room to breathe.
Agreed. Yeah. I wouldn't go less than 2.
Exactly. I never go less than 2, just a rule of thumb. And then price just continued, just blew up from that point and actually hit the target within a span of, I want to say it was less than 30 minutes. Oh, it was about 30 minutes, like a little bit less, like a little less than 30 minutes, like almost a 30 on the dot. Yeah, 30 on the dot. So and mind you, as soon as price actually hit what I was talking about, that little gap right here, price actually showed some sort of resistance and started trending down. But this is still a complex pullback. The original move that price needed to break in order to be considered a switch in trend or a switch in order flow, it would have to break this move below here. So price actually retraced for a little bit and then continued up and is now continuing towards one of the order blocks I have marked up, and actually seems to have some sort of reaction to this one up here. I didn't enter because it was basically past my trading period, my trading block, I should say. And I entered 11. This trade occurred around 11:18, 11:20. So I wouldn't have entered, but overall, we're still watching what price does. Tomorrow, probably gonna get back at it. And yeah, that's all I really got.
Killing it. So that's great. So how many trades did you end up taking overall? Was it just those 2?
So actually for the trade from the other day, so with this trade, I actually only took 1 trade today. That was the single trade. I made about 7% and I was out. So I called it a day because 7% on the day, if you're trading like a normal retail, like you would be blessed to have 7% in a day. So I don't want to get too greedy. So I said, like, if I reach anything about 5% a day, I think that's a good time to call it a day and kind of just go about my day and continue having time to do other things. But over here on this trade, I took about 1 loss before I actually won this trade over here.
So you had about 7R of profit, that is.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And if you risk 1%, right? So
yeah, I'm risking 1%.
There we go.
Yeah, on this trade right here, when I thought this was the original spring, that's when I took my first L. And this all played out after that. But I took my trade here, and I was basically 1 for 2 yesterday, 1 for 1 today. I'm up 15% on the week, and this is all on live too. So really getting my emotions in check and just kind of getting the discipline down. So
it's awesome.
Kind of a good way to start sharing my screen.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing, and thanks everyone for watching. I'll put our information in the comments, so if you want to reach out and get in touch with us, just feel free. Thanks, guys.